This is Neural Newscast.
Here is what matters this morning.
From Neural Newscast, I am Noah Feldman.
And I am Evelyn Hartwell.
The United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury against Iran over the weekend. This action triggered immediate retaliatory strikes across the Middle East. Iranian missiles and drones struck civilian and military targets in the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. Hits were reported at Dubai's Fairmont Hotel and a U.S. naval base.
This escalation is much broader than the conflict of June 2025, which remained largely confined to Israel and Iran. The targeting of stable Gulf kingdoms marks a strategic shift. Iran is seeking to impose material costs on regional monarchies to pressure them into lobbying for a halt to the American bombing campaign.
The human cost is already mounting. Abu Dhabi officials reported 1 death and 7 injuries at Zayed International Airport earlier this week. Airspace across the region is closed. In Lebanon, we're seeing panic buying at grocery stores and long queues at gas stations as citizens fear the entry of Hezbollah into the war.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated that while Iran does not intend to attack Gulf states directly, it is striking American bases in self-defense. This dynamic puts a focus on the diplomatic influence of ruling families in Qatar and Saudi Arabia. These leaders maintain close ties to high-level figures in the Trump administration.
In other news, India's Supreme Court is investigating a significant breach of judicial integrity involving artificial intelligence. A junior judge in the state of Andhra Pradesh was found to have adjudicated a property dispute using 4 legal citations that were entirely fabricated by an AI tool.
The top court called the incident a matter of institutional concern. They noted that fake judgments have a direct bearing on the integrity of the adjudicatory process. The judge in question told investigators she believed the citations were genuine and had no intention to misrepresent the law during her first time using the tool.
The local high court initially suggested the error was made in good faith, but the Supreme Court is now examining the ruling more closely. This case serves as a stark warning about the tendency of generative AI to hallucinate facts and invent sources. Such errors can disrupt legal systems worldwide.
The High Court has since advocated for the exercise of actual intelligence over artificial intelligence to prevent further erosion of trust. This appeal remains a central focus for legal scholars. They're calling for stricter regulations on how judicial staff use automated research sources in active cases.
Turning now to the defense sector, OpenAI has made significant modifications to its contract with the Pentagon. The Financial Times reports that the changes follow internal and external criticism of the deal. Some observers previously characterized the arrangement as opportunistic and sloppy in its execution.
The revisions aim to clarify the scope of how the military can utilize OpenAI's models. This ensures that the technology is not used for prohibited combat applications. It represents a major pivot as the company balances commercial growth with ethical safeguards regarding the use of AI in national security contexts.
OpenAI's shift highlights the ongoing tension between Silicon Valley tech giants and government defense agencies. As these tools become more integrated into infrastructure, the demand for transparency regarding training data is becoming a primary concern for international regulators and humanitarian groups.
We will be watching how other major AI players respond to these new standards in their own government partnerships. The move could set a precedent for future collaborations between the private sector and the Department of Defense as they navigate the complexities of modern warfare.
Meanwhile, the humanitarian situation in Lebanon is deteriorating rapidly as the regional conflict expands. Within an hour of the first strikes on Saturday, lines at gas stations in Beirut grew 10 cars deep. People rushed to stock up on fuel and essentials in a scene reminiscent of the 2024 war.
Commercial flights are being canceled at Beirut Airport. Many citizens are packing suitcases despite the closure of regional airspace. There is a palpable fear that Israel might unleash a wide-ranging attack against Lebanon if Hezbollah fulfills its threat to retaliate for the killing of Iranian leadership.
Hezbollah has so far condemned the U.S. and Israeli actions as a violation of the UN Charter, but is not yet committed to full-scale military involvement. However, the group previously stated that the loss of the Iranian supreme leader was a red line that would trigger a massive response against Israeli interests.
For now, the Lebanese government is attempting to manage the domestic panic while navigating the diplomatic fallout. The memory of recent conflicts remains fresh for many. Current instability is already causing severe disruptions to daily life and the fragile local economy.
Next, the conflict has drawn in regional proxies in Iraq. Bases belonging to the Popular Mobilization Forces were hit by either U.S. or Israeli strikes. These attacks killed at least 2 members of the armed group, Kataib Hezbollah, further inflaming an already volatile situation on the ground.
In response, Kataib Hezbollah and Yemen's Houthi movement have issued joint warnings that they will be joining strikes on U.S. military bases throughout the region. This coordination suggests a multi-front threat that could target American assets from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea in the coming days.
The involvement of these groups complicates the security landscape for the U.S. Navy and regional partners. We are seeing a shift from localized skirmishes to a more unified front of Iran-backed groups. They are now directly challenging the American military presence in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen.
Pentagon officials have not yet released a formal strategy for addressing these proxy threats while managing the direct campaign against Iran. The ability to contain these groups will be a critical factor in preventing the current war from turning into a total regional conflagration.
The physical impact of the strikes is being felt in Kuwait, where a drone crashed into the country's main airport yesterday. The incident resulted in injuries to several employees and caused significant damage to the facility. This adds to the list of regional transit hubs affected by the fighting.
Kuwait has joined other Arab states in condemning the violations of their sovereignty, though it remains unclear how these nations will respond. The damage to Kuwait's infrastructure illustrates that even nations trying to stay neutral are becoming caught in the crossfire of this expanding military campaign.
In Jordan, residents in the northern city of Irbid reported fires caused by falling missile shrapnel. This occurred as Israeli defense systems intercepted incoming Iranian ballistic missiles. The Jordanian government has expressed deep concern over the violation of its airspace and the danger posed to its civilian population.
Incidents underscore how the geographical scope of this conflict has already surpassed previous wars in the region. Every nation from the Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf is now on high alert as the debris from this high-altitude warfare continues to pose a threat to those on the ground.
Here is what else we are watching. Qatar's government is reviewing its national security protocols after calling the recent Iranian strikes a direct assault on its territory. We expect a formal statement from the Qatari leadership regarding their right to respond in the next 24 hours.
Tomorrow, global energy markets will be closely monitoring the status of the Strait of Hormuz and the impact of the Dubai and Kuwait airport closures on logistics. Oil prices have already shown volatility. Any further targeting of energy infrastructure could lead to a significant price spike.
We are also tracking the United Nations Security Council, where several Arab states are expected to file formal complaints against both Iran and the U.S.-Israeli coalition. The debate over violations of the UN Charter will likely dominate the diplomatic discourse as the international community seeks a path toward de-escalation.
Finally, we are awaiting a more detailed assessment from Abu Dhabi regarding the casualties at Zayed International Airport. The initial report of one fatality was deleted shortly after it was posted. Official confirmation on the full extent of the injuries is still pending from the UAE's media office.
From Neural Newscast, I am Noah Feldman.
And I am Evelyn Hartwell.
This has been Neural Newscast. We appreciate you joining us for today's briefing.
Thank you for listening. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.
Neural Newscast uses artificial intelligence in content creation, with human editorial review prior to publication. While we strive for factual, unbiased reporting, AI-assisted content may occasionally contain errors. Verify critical information with trusted sources. Learn more at neuralnewscast.com.